All right, it looks like we're back, and Lewis has had a minute or two to put a little promo up there for our channel. Uh, let's before we share some of the goals of our show, I just had another thought, Doug. Why don't we talk a little bit about the Disability Channel? Because a lot of our viewers will not have heard of the Disability Channel, and they'll be coming into the show. So why don't we just give a little education and your connection first and foremost to the Disability Channel and how that all came about for you. So over to you, Doug.
Yeah, for sure. And we're going to have Jay Stoyan, the owner of the Disability Channel, on, and they're
Mhm.
a provincially funded program that educates people with disabilities to become experts in the
Oh,
field of technology and broadcasting and media. And we need that today, right? Anybody needs it. Doesn't matter what business you are today. If you're not in the media game, you're out of business.
mhm.
And so they're doing fantastic work. And the connection is I sit on a non-for-profit board with Veterans House, and Veterans House is a not-for-profit that is feeding the Disability Channel to support what the Disability Channel is doing, because there's a big initiative right now with veterans, and of course. We're very close to things like the Invictus Games that are going to be happening soon, and I coach several people in from the forces as well. So there's really good synergy between what's happening in the media space and messages like we're trying to deliver and get out there. And you and I have been doing this for decades. So this is just a fantastic medium to share with people something that works.
Mhm. Thank you. And then, of course, you introduced me, and I was already busy. I've been broadcasting for many years, at 25, I think now altogether, on many different platforms. And of course, as the technology advanced, because I started out mainstream radio and then moved as the technology grew.
Hmm.
And my last network, I was there for 3.5 years, but it was time for me to move on. And this opportunity came along because I was already thinking about that, and there you were. And isn't that the way the world works? Just when you're ready to close the door, you open up another big gateway. So I was really honored to be invited, and I'm looking forward because in my work in the world, I work with all kinds of individuals, groups, organizations, corporations from all walks of life across all four races and all ages. My youngest client's been 6, my eldest client's been 93, and this is just a perfect fit for me because I know there's more disability than just physically. We can be disabled financially, emotionally, we can be disabled mentally, which you talk about. So there's lots of different kinds of disabilities. But what I love about the Disability Channel, the focus is accomplishments
Hmm.
and bringing forth the best version of every person, regardless of
Ability, yes, ability,
abilities,
yes, it
not
does feature those.
disabilities, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, everybody has gifts and talents, and we've all been disabled at some point in time in our lives, more than once, in many ways. So I'm excited to be here on the channel. I just really am looking forward to it. And by the way, greetings today from former Grand Chief Leonard Standing on the Road. He wished us luck in a text today because he's traveling today.
Oh,
And
excellent. And that was Leonard Standing on the Road. That is what she said right there.
yes, yes,
That's his
it
name. Look
is.
him up. Google
Yeah.
Leonard Standing on the Road. You'll see a very cool man.
Yeah, and actually, that is his surname, and it's the English translation of his Cree surname. So when you take his Cree surname and translate it into English, you get Standing on the Road, and we just love that. So, anyway, greetings from him today. He wanted me to pass that on to you personally.
Oh, wonderful,
Yeah,
wonderful,
yeah.
fantastic.
So the next thing, I guess, we'll just talk about some of the things, some of the outcomes, some of the results that we'd like to see, and we'll take a break in a couple of minutes. But let's just get started on that path. Doug, what are some things that you want to see come out of the show?
Well, I'd like people to become more aware. I mean, my message is very simple. It's been condensed into something anybody can use. But the awareness that you want to have, anybody on the planet, is that their subconscious mind controls them. And it has only three priorities: meeting basic needs, clarity of thought, and helping other people. And when you start to break that down from that perspective, you can incorporate different behaviors that almost in an instant change your life. And that's what we're going to try to get across is try to deliver the Apple Watch for your emotions, because that Apple Watch does not measure your emotion, and it's your emotions that will make you successful, and it's your emotions that will take you down. And so we're going to deliver that to you, and show you in a step-by-step process how you can get rid of that feeling that there's something wrong with you. Because don't we, Laurie, don't we all walk around feeling like there's something wrong with us? I mean, isn't that the nature of your work?
Well, exactly. And that came about, and thank you for the reminder because Doug, we made a connection yesterday. He has his three areas there that he just mentioned, and in the same token, I have three. I broke my stuff down to three, and we did that both decades ago without even knowing each other. So that's kind of cool.
And they it
And
locks
they
up,
lock,
I
yes,
mean,
they do,
yeah.
like a puzzle.
Yes,
So
yes, and being able to share it in a way, I take pride in sharing stuff in a way where you could share it with somebody else right away.
yeah,
And
like
so
that.
doing that, implementing that mechanism so that it makes it easy for people. It's not
Yeah,
hard, it's not difficult, it's not expensive, but it works.
right. So here's my three things, and it's really strange. There's a nice story around this, and then we'll take a break, okay? Because this all came about after teaching school for 15 years, and then I was in marketing and sales for another 12 years, and then I started. We started our own business. I wanted to own and operate my own private training company, and my husband Ron looked at me and said, "Well, why don't we do that? It would be a great retirement project." All right. So we're in business about 5 years, very busy, and I didn't know anything then that like I know now. But I came home one day and I said to him, "You know what? I've just discovered something. Three things." Back to the three things, Doug. Number one, most people are walking around feeling like there's something wrong with them. Like they're not thin enough, they're not rich enough, they're not pretty enough, they're not handsome enough, they're not smart enough, right?
Hmm.
Second thing, we lack confidence to go out and take those risks that we need to take to move forward instead of being stuck or going backwards. And the third area was communication. I said, people don't know how to communicate properly. So I said to Ron, and I'm bringing Ron into the story because Ron is a veteran and he's excited about the show too. And I said to him, I just discovered this and I'm going to do something about it. Now, Ron worked on the military aircraft, the Sea Kings. That was his career. He built a career around that. He was an aircraft maintenance engineer and very analytical and very intellectual. We make a perfect team because we're on two ends of the stick. Not a hockey stick, but the stick. We try to keep the stick on the ice, like red green. So looked at me and he said, "Well, what's your plan? Because of course, as an engineer, you've got to have a plan. Everything has to be very specific." And you kind of remind me of him, Doug, actually. So anyway, I thought, a plan? I don't have a plan. I'm just a crazy woman with an idea. I have to come up with the plan. Now, you got to know when Ron gets on an airplane, he's the kind of guy that ties the seatbelt across and he doesn't move until that plane lands. And we would be flying together and he'd be saying, "Did you hear that? Did you hear that little tick, 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 tick?" I said, "No, I'm not hearing anything." He said, "Well, I hope that's not the whatever, because if they didn't check that, we're not leaving this tarmac." Now, when we fly, I won't sit next to him. I put him 3 aisles up in the aisle. I'm 3 aisles back, and I can wave to him and talk to the nice people next to me. Over to you, Doug. Those are my three things.
What was the third thing?
Communication,
Communication.
poor communication skills. And that's becoming there's an epidemic.
Hmm.
Two young people in a living room texting each other instead of talking to each other.
Yeah, there's so many scenarios that we're all seeing flashes of. We're seeing flashes of these things, but we're not putting measures in place. We're sort of hiding from them. And there's other things that are so important that we have to do, right? That we put ourselves second because we think it's complicated. I mean, it must be complicated. We're in pain, right?
Hmm.
We're hard on ourselves. It must be complicated to fix.
Hmm.
Yet it really isn't.
No.
It's a matter of chipping away at it and chipping away at it in the right order. Because today it's not a matter of doing the right thing. Everybody wants to do the right thing. it's critical that you do the right thing in the right order. And that's going to become more and more critical as information doubles and triples and quadruples faster and faster. That's just a realization of the physics of where we are right now.
Absolutely. And so for me, that whole original little story, that grassroots story, uh, I didn't know how I was going to do that, but I managed to put together 10 little workshops because I really focused on building and the repair and restoration of our self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started 32 years ago on that quest, I could not find a book or a paper that had ever been written or any research that had ever been done. Even as a young teacher in the school system, we never used the words self-esteem, self-worth. I could have had 10 kids in the room suffering with no self-worth, but I would never have seen it because I was not trained or I didn't have any information. So
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, at the end of the day, like you built your systems to support people with their trauma and get their subconscious mind in gear. And in the same token, I've spent the last 3 decades helping people with their emotions and
Mm-hmm.
getting their value, being able to place value on ourselves. And
and
that's
and
really
that's and it's the conscious approach to the subconscious,
right.
right? And that's essentially what we're doing is we're taking a conscious approach to this 800-pound gorilla that we all have inside of us. And if you don't treat that 800-pound gorilla the way it wants to be treated, boy,
No,
it'll slap you around. It'll bounce
that's
you off the
right.
pavement, right? and,
That's
and
right.
I've been there. It bounced me off the pavement.
Yes, I've been there too, not in the same way as you, but in other ways. So we're going to take a little break, give Lewis a little chance to do a little bit of something here. And Doug, when we come back, let's focus on what it is that we're going to be doing on the show. We're going to be bringing in guests, we're going to have panels, et cetera, et cetera. So over to you, Lewis.